The morning was only just beginning to breathe. Deep in the mountainous region of southern Texas, the forest stood silent beneath a heavy blanket of fog. Tall, large trees faded into pale shadows, their outlines swallowed by the mist. Visibility was almost zero, and for a hunter, that silence and uncertainty were not a disadvantage. They were an invitation. During the night, the fog had rolled down from the peaks and settled at the foot of the mountain, muffling sound, hiding movement, confusing direction. In conditions like these, sound doesn't travel the way it should. Footsteps disappear. Gunshots lose their edge. And prey never knows exactly where danger is coming from. That was why we were here. I was moving through the forest alongside Edric Leon, with our 2 trained dogs, Odin and Rex, cutting quietly through the undergrowth ahead of us. Somewhere above the tree line, the drone team was already airborne, feeding us real-time movement from the slopes beyond our sight. Everything had been planned, every angle considered, every exit calculated. As the first light pushed weakly through the fog, we entered the forest. The ground was soft beneath our boots, damp with morning dew, absorbing every step. No snapping branches, no careless movement, just controlled breathing and slow progress forward. This hunt wasn't about speed, it was about patience. Then it happened. A sudden bark ripped through the fog. Sharp, urgent. One of the dogs had picked up a trail. Almost immediately, the sound of heavy movement followed. Rapid footsteps crashing through low brush. A wild boar was running. Fast. Close. Only seconds passed before a deep, aggressive growl cut through the air. Edric dropped into position, raising his scope rifle while I moved wide, circling through the fog, trying to gain a clean line of sight. The mist thinned just enough to reveal movement between 2 trees. A massive male boar burst forward, muscle, mud, and raw force. I steadied my breathing, finger on the trigger, one controlled squeeze. The shot echoed dull and heavy through the fog. The boar collapsed instantly. Before the forest could fall silent again, a second pig charged out from the same direction. Edric reacted faster than thought. One precise shot. Down. 2 targets neutralized in seconds. The hunt had begun. Barely 5 minutes later, the radio crackled. The drone operator's voice came through, tense but focused. Movement on the south slope. At least 15. Possibly more. That changed everything. Without a word, we adjusted our route, circling behind the hill to cut off their escape. The dogs were released, surging forward with purpose. Dark shapes began to materialize through the fog. First 4, then 6, then many more. This wasn't a small group. It was a herd. At least 20 wild boars moving together. Unaware of how close they were walking into the trap, we took our positions. The forest held its breath. Then the first shot shattered the silence. Chaos exploded instantly. Boars scattered in every direction, crashing through brush, screaming, colliding with trees. Dogs surged forward, barking wildly. Shots rang out one after another, measured and controlled. I tracked a young boar cutting across my front and fired diagonally. He dropped just meters away. Edric and Leon were firing simultaneously, covering multiple angles, stopping escape routes before they could form. In less than 5 minutes, the herd was gone, vanished into fog and forest. But the ground told the story. 9 wild boars lay still. It was only 8:30 in the morning, and the mountain had already surrendered its first warning. This was not going to be an ordinary hunt. We didn't celebrate. There was no pause for satisfaction, no moment of relief. In places like this, success only means one thing: more danger is coming. The fog still clung to the forest, thick and stubborn, refusing to lift. It wrapped around the trees like a living thing, swallowing sound and distance. We took advantage of it. Rifles were checked, magazines reloaded, quick hand signals exchanged. No wasted words. The drone footage showed movement again, this time to the west side of the mountain. Smaller clusters at first, then larger shadows forming behind them. The wild boars were on the move, disturbed by the gunfire, but not driven away. If anything, they were becoming more aggressive. We shifted positions carefully, climbing higher ground. The slope was steep, the soil loose beneath our boots. One wrong step could send a man sliding straight into the open. The dogs stayed close now, alert, muscles tight, ears forward. Then we saw them, boars moving uphill, slow but deliberate, heads low, bodies tense. These weren't panic animals anymore. They were cautious. Learning, we dropped into ambush behind a rocky ridge. The pigs approached from below, unaware of how close death was waiting above them. Minutes passed, then more. The fog moved like smoke across the ground, revealing shapes and then hiding them again. Finally, the moment came. 1, 2, 3. 3 shots cracked almost at the same time. 3 wild boars dropped instantly. Before the echoes faded, Rex and Odin charged forward, barking furiously. One of the pigs was wounded, not down. It disappeared into the fog, crashing through brush, screaming. We followed by sound alone. Visibility was useless now. All we had were instincts and experience. 5 long minutes passed. Then a sharp final scream. Silence. The dogs had cornered the wounded boar. When we reached them, the animal lay motionless, steam rising from its body in the cold air. The dog stood over it, chest heaving, eyes still scanning the forest. No rest. Not today. The hunt continued relentlessly. The fog never lifted, and neither did the pressure. Every time we moved, the drone picked up new movement. Small groups, lone runners, then another herd forming deeper in the trees. By midday, exhaustion began to creep in. Legs burned, shoulders ached from the weight of the rifles. But the results were undeniable. One after another, the wild boars fell. Some from clean shots, others after intense chases through dense forest. By noon, we counted the numbers. 27 wild boars. Each one belonged to a herd that had been destroying farmland, tearing up crops, pushing closer and closer to human settlements. This wasn't just a hunt anymore. It was damage control, protection, a necessary response to an unchecked population that had grown bold and dangerous. As we started descending the hill, believing the worst was over, the forest proved us wrong. From a corner that had been quiet all morning, a large sow suddenly burst out. Fast, aggressive, unpredictable. She crossed our path in seconds. My first shot missed, a rare mistake born from exhaustion. But there was no time to hesitate. I corrected instantly, steadied, fired again. The second shot hit. She dropped hard. That was the closing shot of the first phase of the day. We stood there in the fog, breathing heavily, surrounded by silence broken only by distant birds and the soft hum of the drone above. Sweat mixed with cold air on our skin. Every muscle screamed for rest. But something didn't feel finished. The forest still felt alive, watching, waiting, and deep down, every one of us knew the truth. The biggest danger hadn't shown itself yet. thought the hunt was ending. We were wrong. As we moved deeper toward the northern slope, the forest changed. The fog thickened again, heavier than before, pressing against the trees and swallowing every sound. The dogs slowed down. Their posture changed. Heads low, tails stiff. This wasn't a herd reaction. This was something else. Then we saw the tracks. Deep, wide, fresh. This wasn't just another wild boar. This was an alpha, a survivor, an animal that had lived through years of traps, dogs, bullets, and hunger. The kind that doesn't run first. It fights. We spread out instinctively. Rifles up, fingers steady, every step measured. The forest felt silent, but not empty. Something was watching us. Suddenly, the dogs froze. A low growl rolled through the fog, and then he appeared. A massive dark shape stepped out between the trees. Scarred hide, torn ears, red eyes burning through the mist. This boar wasn't fleeing. It stood its ground, testing us. Calculating. I dropped to one knee, scoped in, controlled my breathing. The first shot hit, but it wasn't enough. The boar roared, not squealed, and charged straight toward us. Branches snapped. Leaves exploded beneath its weight. This wasn't an escape. This was an attack. Edric fired from the right. The boar stumbled, but kept coming. 10 meters. Leon fired again. The third shot struck under the throat. The giant collapsed just meters away from us, sliding across the damp forest floor, before finally stopping. Silence returned instantly, broken only by our breathing. No one spoke. We stood there staring at the body, fully aware of how close it had come. One mistake, 1 second late, and this story would have ended very differently. The drone footage later showed the moment perfectly. 3 shooters, 3 angles, 1 unstoppable charge, finally stopped by precision and experience. The alpha weighed over 170 kilograms. The locals said no one had seen a boar like this in years. Its fall marked the end of a dominant bloodline that had terrorized farms and forests alike. As the sun dipped lower, we gathered ourselves and moved back toward camp. The final count was clear. 31 wild boars. Not trophies. Not numbers. A hard reset for a battle that had been lost. That night, around the fire, no one celebrated loudly. We didn't need to. The forest was quieter. The threat reduced. The mission completed. But one truth remained. In places like this, the hunt never truly ends.